This is a pretty big thing that's entering the news again. I mean, this happened when I was like literally a toddler. But basically, it's the Menendez twins who were famous for murdering their parents. But there was a lot of murky stuff about the case. I mean, they did it, right? But there was allegations of abuse. There was all kinds of things in regards to the case. But due to a recent Netflix documentary, their case is entered into the zeitgeist again and people are talking about it. What did Eric and Lyle Menendez do and when could they be released? You know, I like to read sometimes. It's amazing what knowledge can be found by flicking through tomes, and sometimes they even have pictures that give me a hint of what the words mean. But while the lore is well beyond me, there is one book that you and your family can easily use to get a solid grasp on basically everything. Behold the book. The ultimate guide to rebuilding a civilization. This illustrated encyclopedia takes you all the way through history, uniquely told with a focus on the human inventions created along the way. And us monkey folk seem to be a smart bunch because with 23 chapters made up of 180 topics, there is a lot to get through. And you can really feel that knowledge is power because these 400 pages of food for thought is weighty too. Printed with matte art paper and a laminated cover, the book's presentation does more than justice to the content within. It's so good that it's the book. No need for any others. Which is good because this one blew my mind so much that I don't think my brain can handle another one. It really is comprehensive, having been put together by over 50 authors who are professionals in fields from science to architecture to art. And every illustration is handmade and really nice to look at. And lots of people agree because the book raised £2.3 million on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and was a 2023 bestseller after its release. So, if you want to explore history with an exciting new perspective, click the link in the description box down below to grab a copy of the book yourself and get yourself learnt, son. In 1989, brothers Lyle and Eric Menendez killed their parents by shooting them multiple times at close range at their mansion in Beverly Hills. They were found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to murder in 1996 and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. However, in a resentencing hearing in Los Angeles, a judge reduced their term, making them eligible for parole. Public interest in the case has grown since a new Netflix drama, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, was released in September. Why was there a hearing to resentence the brothers? In 2024, the previous District Attorney of Los Angeles, George Gascon, requested that the brothers' sentence of life without the possibility of parole be changed to 50 years to life. The issue was put to Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Michael Jessic on 13th May, who agreed. I do believe they've done enough in the past 35 years that they should get that chance, he said, concluding a day-long hearing. The brothers are now eligible for parole under California's youthful offender law, which allows individuals who commit crimes before the age of 26 to seek a reduced sentence. And this is a thing they brought over here in Scotland as well. The argument that was made was before the age of 25, your brain is not fully developed, therefore leniency should be given to you for committing crimes. Even though some people under that age commit some really, really heinous crimes. Like a good example to give is in Japan. This is actually a huge problem in Japan. I think they're reworking the laws now, where if you were under the age of 18, you could commit a murder, right? And all they did was send you to a reform school for like 2 or 3 years. No joke. Which is why, which is why the Yakuza used to use a lot of youngsters to carry out their hits for them. They would get some 16, 17-year-old to go and carry out the murder because they knew that person was only going to do 2 or 3 years in a reform school, and then when they got out, they basically jumped up 6 ranks for doing that in the Yakuza. Yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing that they did, and there was even documentaries of like a dad whose son was murdered at school by another pupil. There was even someone that cut someone's head off and mounted it on a spike on the fence of the school, and that person only did like 4 years in a reform school. Like, no joke. But basically, as soon as you turn 18, it's just, boom, life sentence, like, right away. But, yeah, basically, people are committing really horrific offences under the age of 18 in Japan and doing, like, 2 years. Yeah, it was a huge deal over there. But basically, it looks like it's becoming a thing over here as well, except instead of under 18, it's under 26. The brothers are now, I've just read that. The siblings were aged 18 and 21 at the time. They are now aged 54 and 57. Now, their life's practically gone. Anyway, during the hearing, family members and a former fellow inmate were among those who testified in support of the resentencing. People who worked with the brothers in prison spoke about the educational courses they had completed and described the hospice initiative they created for the elderly and sick. The district attorney's office, which fiercely opposes a lower sentence, said the brothers have continued to make excuses for their conduct instead of taking full responsibility and were not rehabilitated. The brothers spoke to the court via video and apologised for their actions. They also expressed their hope to work with sex abuse victims and those incarcerated if they were given a second chance outside of prison. Who decided? Yeah, they were basically saying they were being sexually abused and stuff like that. The California Parole Board will now decide whether to release the brothers from prison. Separately, the state's governor, Gavin Newsom, that fucking idiot, is considering a request from the brothers for clemency. If approved, it could lead to a reduced sentence or a pardon. And Gavin Newsom, being a leftist and like the governor of California, I mean, they love murderers and death row prisoners and stuff like that. They will totally fight for their rights and for the right to live. Not fetuses, sadly, but still. Governor Newsom requested that the parole board conduct a risk assessment that examines whether the brothers pose a risk to the general public if released. The full report has not been released, but the district attorney said it indicated a moderate risk of violence. The parole board hearing on the clemency petition is set to take place on 13th of June. It is unclear whether the board will also consider the possibility of parole based on Judge Jessic's resentencing at the same hearing. What did the Menendez brothers do? Lyle and Eric Menendez killed their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, on 20th August 1989 at their home in Beverly Hills. Their father, a 45-year-old Hollywood executive, was shot 6 times with a shotgun the brothers had purchased days before the attack. Their mother died after suffering 10 shotgun blasts to several parts of her body. The brothers initially told police that they found their parents dead when they arrived home. They were arrested after the girlfriend of a psychologist that had been treating Eric Menendez went to police to say that they had physically threatened the doctor. Why did the Menendez brothers kill their parents? The brothers claimed they committed the murders in self-defense after years of alleged physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, although no molestation was ever proven in court. They said they feared their father would kill them after they threatened to expose him. However, prosecutors argued that the young men had killed their successful parents to inherit their multi-million-dollar estate. What happened during the original Menendez trials? The brothers were taken into custody in 1990, and in 1993 they were tried for the murders, first individually with one jury for each brother. However, both juries were deadlocked in 1994, resulting in a mistrial, and the pair were later tried again together in 1995. During their joint trial, the judge excluded apparent evidence of abuse from their defense case. Tape sessions with the doctor in which the killings were discussed were ruled admissible in court by the judge. A jury found them guilty, and the pair were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to murder in 1996. The brothers, who were separated during their detention after a detective who investigated the slayings said that they may conspire to escape if housed together, reunited in jail in 2018. What impact has the Netflix drama had on the case? The case was thrust back into the spotlight after Netflix released a drama series about the brothers in September 2024. Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, shot to the top of the platform's streaming chart and was reported to have more than 12 million views in the first weekend after release alone. The programme explores what might have led the siblings to kill their parents and presents the murders from different perspectives. Its creator said the series was based on extensive research. It includes the brothers' claims of abuse as well as showing things from the parents' point of view. The show introduced the case to a new generation and garnered attention from celebrities including Kim Kardashian and Rosie O'Donnell, who called for the brothers to be released. The series was a follow-up to the controversial first Monster series about US serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, which I watched and it was actually pretty good. It's very, very fucked up, but it was really good. Following its release, Eric Menendez shared a statement released on X by his wife. Oh god, he's got a wife. Oh yeah, I forgot. Women always want to marry murderers and serial killers and all that stuff as well. What's it called? Bonnie and Clyde syndrome. Aye, that's what it's called. That's why women were like fawning over Ted Bundy and they were fawning over the Night Stalker. and all that stuff as well. Yeah, for some reason, women love that stuff. Which is the thing I don't comprehend, because whenever I talk about like horrible stuff like this in front of like my girlfriend, she's kind of like, oh, I don't want to hear it. But then she's very happy to watch a documentary about a serial killer, which goes into a lot more detail than I was going into. I don't get that stuff about women. But anyway, he said the show was disheartening slander, and he believed we had moved beyond the lies and ruinous character portrayals of Lyle. It is sad for me to know that Netflix's dishonest portrayal of the tragedies surrounding her crime have taken the painful truths several steps backward, back through time to an era when the prosecution built a narrative on a belief system that males were not sexually abused and that males experienced rape trauma differently than women, he added. Members of the family also spoke out and said the brothers had been victimised by this grotesque shock drama, and the show was riddled with mistruths. Ryan Murphy, who created the show, told Variety that the comments were predictable at best. He added that the family's response was interesting because I would like specifics about what they think is shocking or not shocking. It's not like we're making any of this stuff up, it's all been presented before. Well, I don't know the facts of the case. I only know the gist of it. It's not something I've really looked into too much, but we'll have a wee look at this and see where it goes.